Welcome to the Vue Spreadsheet component tutorial. In this video, I'll show you how easy it is to bind local and remote data to the Syncfusion Vue Spreadsheet component. I will also show you how to bind data to the individual cells in a sheet and bind the data source dynamically with a button click. First, I open my existing Vue project where all the necessary spreadsheet modules are configured and the basic spreadsheet code is added. Notice that the default JSON file has the local JSON data. It has fields such as customer name, model, color, payment mode, and more. Using the eSheet stack, I have mapped the data source to a specific range in a sheet. In addition to that, I have added the eColumns tag and specified the custom width for individual columns using the eColumn tag. To learn more about integrating this spreadsheet into a Vue application, please check the Getting Started video linked in the card above and the description below. Let me run this application by running the npm run dev command. You can see that the spreadsheet is rendered with the local data. To bind remote data to a spreadsheet, I need to access the online data service with the help of the data manager. The data manager is a Syncfusion library that acts as a gateway and interacts with local and remote data sources. In this example, I plan to use the Web API adapter to bind data. So I import the data manager class and Web API adapter from the Syncfusion EJ2 data package. In the data method, initialize the instance of the data manager to the data variable. To interact with the remote data service, the data manager requires the following minimum configuration URL and adapter. I provide the endpoint URL in the data manager with a valid service URL to fetch data. This is the online service that I'll use in my application, and it has fields such as order ID, employee ID, customer ID, and more. Then I need to specify the adapter type. The adapter is responsible for processing the response from the service endpoint and the request to it. Set the adapter with the Web API adapter as the service URL passed to the data manager is created based on the Web API standards. Then, enable the cross-domain property. Looking here, the spreadsheet is rendered with the remote data. Next, I will show you how to bind data to an individual cell in the spreadsheet. First, I comment out the eRange tag to bind cell data. Then I import the rows directive, row directive, cells directive, and cell directive from the Syncfusion EJ2 Vue Spreadsheet package, and register them in the components property. Then add an eRows tag to specify a collection of row details. Add the row tag to specify details for a single row. Then I include the eCells tag to specify a collection of cell details. Add the eCell tag to specify data for individual cells. I'll keep this row as the header. By adding the value property, I set the header for column 1 to category. In the same way, I provide headers for the other columns, plan cost, actual cost, and difference. Again, I add the row tag to specify details for the next row. Here, I provide the values of food, $7,000, and more. For the last cell, I have included the formula property to display the difference between planned and actual costs. I add the cell details for the other rows. Notice that data is bound to each cell in the specified spreadsheet range, and the formula is applied to difference column. I can also apply formats to cell data. Let's see how to apply the format to the plan cost, actual cost, and difference columns. First, I import the getFormatFromType method from the Syncfusion Vue Spreadsheet package. Inside the data method, I declare another variable currency format of string type. Call the method getFormatFromType and provide the format name currency as an argument. I assign this currency format variable to the format property in the required cells. Check now, the currency format is applied to the planned cost, actual cost, and difference columns. I can also provide the sheet name using the name property in the sheet directive tag and assign the value monthly budget. See here, the sheet name is changed to a monthly budget. Finally, I will show you how to load the data source dynamically with a button click. Here, I'm going to render an empty spreadsheet and load the spreadsheet with local data on an external button click. First, I uncomment the ranges tag and remove the code related to the cell data binding. Then I install the Syncfusion Vue button using the command npm install at Syncfusion Vue buttons. I import the button component from the Syncfusion Vue buttons package and register the button component in the components property. I add the JS button tag and set the content, load data. I add a click event and assign the callback method button click. I define this button click method inside the method's property. Inside this method, I assign the local data object to sheet 1 using the spreadsheet instance. Notice the sheet and range index start from 0. To load an empty spreadsheet, assign the null to the data variable. In the button component, add the inline margin style to align the button component. See, the spreadsheet renders with an empty sheet. When I click the Load Data button, the data is loaded. In this video, I have shown you how to bind local and remote data to the Syncfusion Vue Spreadsheet component. I also showed you how to bind cell data and bind the data source dynamically. You can download this working example from the GitHub link in the description below. I've also shared a link where you can see if you're eligible for our community license, giving you a free license key to use our Vue products. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel.